The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we get out of the box and dive into topics that are sidelined. I look forward to entertain, educate, and inspire. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
From anxiety and overwhelm to financial control, progress, and success. That's what can happen for you. Whether you're separated or divorced, it doesn't have to be a setback. Divorce can be a springboard to your financial success. Are you separated? Are you divorced? Feeling a little anxious or overwhelmed about your finances? Are you worried about your financial future? If so, you're in the right place. Keep listening as I discuss rebuilding your wealth after divorce. Hi, I'm Pamela Carmichael, your money and life success coach, and I'm here with you today as a guest on the Unfiltered by Jade podcast. Welcome. I help recently divorced and separated women to double their savings in 6 months or less so they can rebuild their wealth, regain control of their financial future, and for sure, confidently care for their families and themselves while achieving their biggest goals. Today's money conversation is rebuilding wealth after divorce. Yes, you can. Oftentimes I say nobody planned, I certainly didn't, to be divorced after going up the altar and saying I do. But today, you may either be separated, divorced, or in some cases, married to a financially absent spouse. But there is hope. It is said that divorce is like grieving. You grieve loss, your loss of a loved one. And yes, it is in many ways. And as such, you go through a whole heap of emotions when you are experiencing separation, when you're going through divorce. It's like grieving the loss of togetherness that you thought would always be. So maybe you've expressed those feelings. Maybe you've been through the denial and the anger. Or maybe in some cases felt a little depressed about your situation. But that's okay. You need to be able to acknowledge those feelings. But at some point, you come to, as I have come to, and many others have, to a place of acceptance. This life that you're now living is now your new life. And this acceptance often brings with it the realization that it's time to start over, that you have to start over for yourself and for the sake of your family. But starting over can be scary. I'm not going to tell you that it's an easy road, but starting over is also a new lease on life, and you can do it by the grace of God. You may feel at some points like if divorce is heavyweight and that you will never feel happy again, or you will never look at life the same way you looked at it before. Yeah, it's true in some ways. You won't look at life the same way. But for sure, through the process of divorce, look at it as this is the new life I'm living and I have a chance to start fresh. So the questions you have today may be about how can you rebuild your wealth? How can you rebuild after everything that has been lost through legal costs and settlements and division of assets? And it may seem like an insurmountable task or impossible task. I'm saying to you today, there's always hope, and you definitely can rise, you can rebuild, and you can thrive. Now, I don't want to do this podcast in such a way that is boring. So I decided that I'll look at a friend of mine, client previously, now a friend. For this recording, I'll call her name Ashley. So I'll share with you Ashley's story as we have this conversation today so that you can identify with her in some cases. And there's some things you may not identify with, but nonetheless, as you hear Ashley's story, some of what you're experiencing may come through and some of what you're not experiencing, you may understand that some other people have. So Ashley is a beautiful Christian young lady and very professional in her career, very successful, but she's faced with the conversation that she never thought she'd have with her ex, that it's time for them to be separated. It's time for them to go through the divorce proceedings. So Ashley is faced with many racing thoughts. Her mind races through many scenarios. Does she need a higher paying job? How could she manage with the fact that there is now going to be, or that there is only one person in the household who's working, which is her? Does she need to start another business, bringing income through a side hustle? How will she manage now that the income is less and the expenses are either the same or maybe even more? How will she be able to take care of her family and these limited funds? I don't know how I'm going to make it, is what Ashley was saying. How am I going to provide for my family or even live a better life? This doesn't even seem possible. So pause here. Do you or have you had similar thoughts like Ashley, where you thought that, I don't know if it's possible for me to even get it from this position that I'm in? I believe that as women, if you're a Christian, you want the best for yourself. You also want the best for your family, your children. But your emotions and your thoughts when you're going through a situation as difficult as this limit you, and they don't serve you well. You may be trying to figure out how you're going to support your family, trying to decide how you're going to support your yourself, even trying to determine if you can even do this thing called money and talk about rebuilding wealth. That seems like a pipe dream, right? But yes, you are able to, and you can. So when you're going through these moments where you have these limiting thoughts or these racing thoughts going on in your head about how am I going to do this? How am I going to achieve this? Where's this the help for this going to come from? It's good for you to take a step back and look inward. Acknowledge what you're thinking about, acknowledge how you're feeling. And one of the ways I have done it is I would journal. I would pray, of course, but I spent much time journaling to, one, yes, express my thoughts, but two, to also allow God to shift my perspective from thinking that it's not possible to believing and knowing for sure it's possible for me to get out of the difficulty I'm facing and to actually thrive again. You may need to seek counsel, because one of the things about rebuilding wealth that nobody talks about is this, that it's really necessary for you to be healed head and heart before you can even start taking any positive action to rebuilding your finances, to rebuilding your wealth. So Ashley had these thoughts, and you may have these thoughts too, but along with the thoughts came feelings. Like when I started this podcast, I talked about being anxious, about being overwhelmed. So here's Ashley, and here's what she's saying, or here's what she was feeling. She was anxious and she was worried about her future. She was disappointed and she was ashamed of her new marital status. And she was ashamed that, now she was not going to be known for XYZ's wife, but she was a miss. So she felt less than, because people knew her as mistress connected to Mr., but now she is Miss again. So her new status also meant a new lower financial position and a lower standard of living than what she had before. So how would she begin to navigate this new life? So after divorce, most of us, as especially is statistically said that women um, are the ones who usually experience a lower standard of living after divorce. And after divorce, women also experience a great deal of anxiety because the future feels uncertain. The future feels insecure. And I've noticed, even as a money coach, when dealing with women, even in these modern times, married women still do what our parents used to do. So they fall into this role of leaving the money thing, the money management to their husbands. And some women are even resistant to discussing money with their husbands. So unfortunately, when divorce becomes a reality for them, these women experience embarrassment, stress, they feel overwhelmed by this newfound responsibility, along with still having to take care of their family. So they feel all of these things because they once relied so heavily on their spouse to manage money or to provide financial support. I recently spoke to a colleague and she explained to me how challenging it was for her because she um, was not working when she was divorced. So she had the challenge of trying to bring herself back up and lift herself back up to re-enter the job market. So she had to learn pretty much the skill of marketing herself and selling herself to as when she was someone who was a stay-at-home mom. And now she's re-entering the market. So it was a challenge for her to get back in to the job market. But she knew it was necessary. It was necessary for her to do it if she was going to be able to take care of herself and her children. Maybe you are feeling lost because you're telling yourself, I don't know what to do. And in some cases, you may be saying, I wish someone would take care of this for me. But the someone who's going to take care of your finances for you is you. With the help of God, you will be able to take care of your finances. So as you think about your divorce and your finances, how do you feel? Are you feeling stressed about it? Are you feeling overwhelmed about it? Are you anxious at times? I always like to remind my clients that the word of God says, don't be anxious about anything. But with prayer, with supplication, with thanksgiving, make your request known to God. So if you hear nothing else today, the word of God says, don't be anxious about anything because He, once you pray, gives you the ability to be able to walk in peace. Is what the other verse says, that you will have the peace of God guarding your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. So if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, first and foremost, tell it to God. Or you may be feeling overwhelmed because there's so much that needs to be done with respect to your finances, with respect to your children, with respect to your own personal well-being. There's a lot to do. And in some cases, like Ashley, you may be in catch-up mode. And when I talk about catch-up money mode, I'm talking about the fact that you deal with things only because you have to, only when you're forced to deal with them, only when they become pressing priority. So you forget to pay the bill and the credit card bill. Let's talk about the credit card bill. And you hit the overdue date, the payment date, and the payment date is passed. And then you remember, oh, I forgot to pay the bill on time. Or there's some legal matter or some documentation that you need to update and you haven't updated. And you keep delaying updating it because you don't want to have to deal with those feelings that come because it's almost like if you're reliving the whole process of divorce again. But you have the grace of God and you can do it. So in some cases, you might be angry. In some cases, you might be blaming your ex for not managing the money the way he should have or the way you thought he was managing it. Or you may be frustrated with the demands that the divorce process placed on you and how unfeeling it is and how difficult it has been to go through that process. Because, and I say our feeling because when you look at the whole process, it's about the division of assets and about who's getting what and what who's taking care of what. And it almost seems like if how you feel has no place there in that divorce process. So in some cases, you get angry, you get frustrated coming out of that process, coming out of the divorce, and you feel like a victim. You feel more like you've been taken advantage of, and you don't see that there's been any victory whatsoever. So pause here. Acknowledge those feelings. Like I said, acknowledge those thoughts. What emotions and thoughts you have drive how you move and how you act towards your money. So if your thoughts are good and you produce good results, you do the things you're supposed to do, you manage your money, whether it's a weekly or monthly assessment you do of your finances, you do it. You do the good things of making sure that your commitments are made on time. But apart from that, you do really good stuff because you make sure you're saving money. You make sure you're investing money. You do the good things. But if your thoughts are limiting, if your thoughts are not so good thoughts, or if your thoughts are sabotaging, then you find that uh, you don't do anything good when it comes to your finances, or you do very little when it comes to your finances. So my question to you today is, what simple action can you do now in relation to your finances in order for you to not experience what Ashley did? Those stressless nights, those stressful nights, those sleepless nights, those nights of worrying about what was or wasn't done. What unfinished business can you commit to resolving within the next 2 to 3 weeks? You have to take whatever it is, take the action. And I'll say this, yes, maybe that action is for you to reach out to me and have a conversation with me. You can connect with me on Instagram at the Life Success Company so that we can have a conversation about how you can rebuild your wealth. What does rebuilding wealth look like for you? I always say for everybody, it's different. As our faces differ, so do our desires, so do our challenges. We're not the same. So what does rebuilding wealth look like to you? A year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want to feel? What do you want to see happen? What do you want to do or to have for yourself and for your family and for others around you? So as I end this podcast, those are the pointed questions I want you to consider, that there is a decision you have to make. You can be like my client. You can be on the road to rebuilding your wealth after you divorce. You can move from anxiety and overwhelm to financial control, progress, and success. You can be like my client who made that decision, but you have to make your own decision. You have to make your own determination that you want to live your life fully as God has purpose for you. So make your decision. Make one decision today that would give you a head start on rebuilding your wealth. Pray, seek support of friends and family, and pick one thing, like I challenged you earlier, to do this week that will help you, or to do over the next 2 to 3 weeks, that will bring you to a place where you start rebuilding wealth. I want to say this. I'm not coming to you from the perspective of someone who has not experienced this. My story too is that I've been separated and then divorced. So I understand the challenges that you face in your thoughts and your emotions and the actions or inactions that you don't take that would bring you to a place where you can actually rebuild your wealth. And it's my pleasure to be able to speak with you and to share with you and to have a conversation with you to bring you to a place where you are ready to rebuild your wealth. I want to say thank you to Unfiltered by Jade podcast for allowing me to share with you today. This is Pamela Carmichael, your money and life success coach, signing out and saying God bless you. Go out there, rebuild your wealth, even after divorce.
The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade. Welcome to the Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.